Hey, everybody. John Manuel here in the hermetically sealed offices of Baseball America in Durham, North Carolina. Joined by Michael and Anna live from Columbus, Ohio. We hope to have Jim Schonert on from Charlotte, but Jim was in a loud room. So we had to send Jim the boot for the short time here, Mike. But we're going to talk a little college baseball on a Friday afternoon. Mike, it's looked like it's a sunny day, but a windy day in Columbus. But it's the winds of change blowing as the Big Ten kind of takes over college baseball this year. I mean, we've really talked about the league a lot this year. The league has certainly been getting better every year, but we haven't seen a regular season Big Ten matchup generate this kind of interest nationally that I can remember. And with Illinois on an 18-game win streak going to Ohio State, that's red hot. You're there outside the horseshoe, outside Ohio Stadium, headed over to Nick Swisher Field for a Big Ten regular season matchup. I'm guessing this is not what you thought you'd signed up for when you came back to Baseball America to cover some college baseball.
No, I didn't have this series circled on my calendar per se, but I'm glad to be here at the Ohio State University.
That's right.
Not the other one, not the Annapolis. It's the Ohio State University, and sitting outside the football stadium. And it is a nice day here. It's a tad bit chilly, but I'm sure they're used to that up here in Ohio. And, I'm not used to it down in North Carolina, but that's okay. But yeah, no, it's really exciting to see this series, to see two Big Ten teams battle for potentially a national seed, especially for Illinois. A team who's our number 8 team right now, and they've won 18 in a row, and 8 is hot too. They've won 7 in a row, and they've won some quality series. They won a midweek game against Louisville, shut them out. So it's going to be a quality series, and it's interesting to see for Illinois, that 18-game winning streak. Does the buck stop here against the Buckeyes? Does it keep going? They're running out of W's in their Twitter account handle. I don't know how many more Twitter is going to allow them to have. So, that could play a factor as well.
The record is 34, so there's 16 W's away. That Twitter handle would be outrageous if it was the Illini like that. It would be too long for the horizontal screen here on the Google Hangout. But you wrote the preview. I'll tell you just my take, reading the preview and looking up these teams, and talking to a Midwest scout the other day, is, Illinois, obviously, its pitching is outstanding. That's really kind of the story, is how well Illinois' pitching match up with Ohio State. The other thing that struck me is just how veteran, how old, really, frankly, the Illinois team is. When you look at Illinois' contributors and the main guys in their lineup, Mike, it's really a senior-laden team. So, and this team, I think, has 9 red shirts on the roster, 2 or 3 redshirt seniors. But when you go to the top of their lineup, Fletcher, Carrion, McCurney, Nagel, Roper, all the way down to Jason Goldstein, the catcher, with 6 homers. Most of the power on this team is provided by juniors, seniors, fifth-year seniors. This is a veteran-laden Illinois team. How big of a part of their success do you really think that is, that they're just a mature, older club?
Oh, I think it's a huge part of their success, and it's something that, talking to head coach Dan Hartlib, it's something that he was talking about too. It's just the mentality on this group is that they're not getting caught up in all the wins. They're not getting caught up in all of the history that they're making. They're not resting on their laurels at all. They're just focusing on, okay, let's forget this game. Let's go out there tomorrow and let's play again. I think when you have a younger team, it's easy to ride really high when you're doing well, and it's easy to get down really low when you're not doing as well. So I think this group is very even-keeled, and I think that's helped them. And obviously, you look at the numbers, it is a powerful group. They lead the Big Ten in slugging, and they're tied for the lead in homers. So it's a team that can outslug you, and it's obviously a team that can outpitch you too. With Kevin Duchesne at the front of that rotation, and Tyler J obviously on the back end. So it's really a Big Ten, and it's probably the most balanced club in the Big Ten. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ohio State pitchers do against them, and what the Ohio State offense is going to be able to muster against Duchesne, against Jay at the back end of the bullpen. And then the rest of that weekend rotation for Illinois is not too shabby either.
Yeah, it's really both teams' pitching numbers are kind of out of this world. We'll see if Jim can join us here in a minute. But the thing that stands out to me about Ohio State is they don't walk anybody. I just was glancing at the numbers yesterday. I got them up here again. 90 walks and 368 innings. It's like 2.25 walks per 9.
Yeah.
But I guess is it more of a command-oriented rotation, really, Mike? Or it sounds like they do have, especially in Lankins, they do have some power arms available.
Yeah, I mean, it's more, I mean, 2/3 of the rotation, you have two kind of pitchability lefties. Um, you know, their coach, Greg Beals, was talking about how it's a team that competes more than just blows the ball by you. It's more of a, you know, a competitor kind of rotation than it is just pure stuff. I mean, Tanner Tooley and Ryan Riga, you know, kind of bookend that staff, both left-handers, both pitchability guys, but guys that, I mean, you look at Tooley, he won Big Ten Freshman of the Year last year. He's obviously talented, and he's done a great job in the Friday night role for them. And then Lakins, like you mentioned, he's a draft-eligible right-hander. He's a guy who's going to sit 91, 93. He might bump 94, 95 on occasion in a game. He's got the best arm of the bunch. Doesn't necessarily have the best numbers, though. I mean, the other two guys have been great this year. Like you said, they're not walking guys. They're commanding the zone very well. So it's a quality rotation. And it's kind of similar with Illinois, too. I mean, you look at Kevin Duchesne at the front of the rotation. I mean, he's not going to blow the ball by you, but he has great command. He has a 4-pitch mix, and, you know, he knows what he's doing out there, obviously.
Yeah, he seems like he's the kind of guy who really locates the breaking ball well, pitches to both sides of the plate. I have a feeling you're going to see a lot of quality pitching this weekend, a lot of quality strikes, and you're going to, you know, these are teams that are going to try to force the other team to beat them as opposed to beating themselves with walks. It is startling to me to see that Ohio State, you know, looking on the Twitter, that some of them are going to have pretty good crowds this weekend, weather permitting. They've really drawn around 1,000 people per game when they're in the league and, you know, at their best. What kind of crowd you know, what kind of anticipation do you sense in that area for it?
Yeah, you know, I haven't seen all that much buzz yet. I just got here to campus, but I'm sure it's gonna be bouncing there at the park today. I'm excited to see it. You know, it's really just exciting to see Big Ten baseball and baseball in Ohio just, you know, draw this much attention, draw this national attention. And, you know, I'm expecting a big crowd, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And I just hope there's enough room there for me, you know?
That's right. If they had it at Ohio Stadium, I think there'd be plenty of room. But now that's an imposing looking ballpark. It looks the football stadium looks huge. How big is it?
Yeah, it's pretty large. Whole thing on let's just say that. But no, it is a very impressive stadium, and as it should be. Obviously, Ohio State is a very quality football program. They're reigning national champions, so they deserve a big stadium. So it's nice to see it in person, and maybe I'll try to sneak in there if they'll let me in.
Well, let's see. I thought I had Jim Schoner back, and I can't figure out how to get Jim back in the Hangout. So this is pretty classic Baseball America technology. This is what happens when you let the gray-haired guy run your technology for your videos on the weekends. Michael asked one last question to you as we try to get Jim back in. You know, we've got Illinois as a top 8 national seed. Yeah, I guess what I'm interested in is, do you think when you're there, especially tonight? I mean, what's the sense that Ohio State could even host? Their RPI is 11. Right. How crazy would it be if we saw 2, maybe even 3 Big Ten teams hosting regionals?
I mean, it would be strange to see, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, you look at, obviously, Ohio State's a quality club and playing really well, and the RPI is there and speaks volumes for them. And, you know, Iowa is right there as well. I mean, they're second in the Big Ten right now. They're ahead of Ohio State in the Big Ten standings, and they're on a run of their own. And, of course, Maryland, Jim, you know, he's trying to enter in this hangout here. I'm sure he would vouch for the Terps. He's a Terps guy. He's been on the Terps all year. So, you know, I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibility. I think it could happen. And, you know, it would be strange to see, sure, but I think they're, you know, potentially deserving of it, especially as they play well down the stretch.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's really got a real shot to host. I know one of the things that Jim was struggling with the most, and when he comes back in, if he could get back in the hangout, that'd be awesome. If he can't, I will wear that one myself. But we discussed his Field 64 this morning, and a couple things jumped out to me. One is what to do with the Los Angeles regional. Mm-hmm. It feels like UC Santa Barbara should be a 1 seed, but could you really have UC Santa Barbara, you know, be a 1 seed? I mean, you could have them be a 1 seed and go on the road to Southern Cal, but you know, I think it's really difficult to see them. They don't have lights to host, and I'm not really sure that they're going to be a 1 seed on the road when USC right now has a higher RPI from them. So that's going to be a real challenge for the Gauchos. I would love to see them as a host, but the other thing that kind of kills that for them is geographic isolation. They don't really have even a California League team that's close to them there in northwest of Los Angeles. That was one challenge. Another real challenge is who that number 8 seed should be. I think it's a pretty clear top 7 national seeds. And we debated Illinois and Oklahoma State, Mike. I don't know if you have an opinion on that one of OK State versus Illinois, of who you would put as that number 8 national seed. I think I was the one who kind of wore Jim down of moving Oklahoma State out when he had them there last year. Now here is Jim, or at least Jim's silhouette. But Jim, we're glad to have you in there. But why don't you explain us a little bit? You both guys can weigh in on this. But Jim, you can go first if you can hear me, about Oklahoma State versus Illinois, and who should host that regional, or that who should be a top 8 national seed. I meant to say.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, well, it started with the fact that Illinois won a series at Oklahoma State. It's a big part of it. Oklahoma State is higher in the RPI, but Illinois is in a stronger conference, at least this year. So we kind of gave them the edge for that reason. And but it's going to be close. I mean, if Oklahoma State can hold on and win the Big 12 regular season title, they do have a series win over TCU. That would give them a nice case. But yeah, I mean, I think if Illinois can win this weekend at Ohio State, that would go a long way for them.
I think the translation of that through the computer is Oklahoma State won that series against TCU. That's a pretty big feather in TCU's cap. There's no doubt about that. Second, Illinois winning at Oklahoma State early in the year could be a difference maker coming down the line between those two clubs. I agree with you on both those counts, Jim. But it's a tight race for that number 9, for that number 8 national seed right now. And I'm not sure how that's going to work out. But for this week, I felt bad that I made you move Oklahoma State out of the top 8 national seeds after they had been in last week. But so if people want to direct their anger at somebody, they can direct their anger at me for that one as opposed to Jim. I'll wear it for that one. Jim's going to go see Auburn at South Carolina on Saturday. You're there for Dallas Baptist at Charlotte today, or at least en route, Jim, as the weather tries to clear up down in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Which is the series? It looks like the Auburn South Carolina series is really the one that's kind of got you most. That's the fired up one. Auburn kind of sneaking up here. Their pitching has been outstanding, guys. And Jim, I mean, you and I just discussed it off air. 5 shutouts for Auburn Tigers. We've talked about it a few times this year about how those Auburn and NC State just switched. They basically just switched pitching coaches this year. But Auburn, I think Auburn's been one of those better stories that's kind of under the radar this year because they've really pitched and they're starting to come on a little bit offensively. What's your big pick? How big is this series for those two teams?
Yeah, I mean, for Auburn,
South Carolina, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for Auburn, I mean, it's impressive what they've been doing without Keegan Thompson. I mean, he's missed last week. Now he's going to miss this weekend, and then they just have kept rolling. I mean, they've got a very exciting, spark plug there with Anthony Greer, who's a great athlete, he's really stepped forward as a sophomore this year, been a real force at the top of that lineup, and yeah, I mean, they've gotten contributions from these, guys like Rocky McCord and Trey, Lipscomb, Wingent, all these guys, and they're these kind of more unsung guys in that rotation, but they've all been really effective. He's got a 2.24 all ERA. Dalton Rance is going to go into the rotation for Thompson. He's been really strong. So, I mean, it's an exciting team. I mean, they kind of were on the bubble for a while, but they've been playing well enough. They're just on track anyway to not even have to sweat it out on Selection Monday.
I think that's true for the Auburn Tigers. They're not going to have to sweat it out. I'll ask you guys one last question from Tucker Blankenship, who asked us on Twitter about, and we'll let it go, both for the wind and the rain down in Charlotte. Can a Big South team get one of the last hosts? Mike, Jim's projection had Radford and Coastal Carolina in, Liberty as one of the first 4 out. I don't know if you guys, Mike, if you had an opinion of whether you think Coastal Carolina maybe could win its way into being a regional host. Seems like it would help if they beat Florida State this weekend, which is a tall order. But what's your take on the Chanticleers? Then Jim, you can follow up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chanticleers could do that, but like you said, I mean, Florida State is going to be a very tough test. I mean, they're pitching through that lineup, especially with how patient they are, and DJ Stewart right in the middle of it. It's going to be difficult, but Chanticleers can hit the ball too. So, I think obviously it's going to be tougher for them. I don't think it's impossible. I think they could play their way into it, but it's going to be. I think, like you said, the series is going to play a big part into their possibilities.
Well, Mike, I'm gonna
Yeah, agreed.
I'm gonna eject Mike real quick. Mike, I'm gonna let you sign off so we don't hear the wind anymore.
Okay.
But, have a fun weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Mike is ejected. Jim, you're there. That was
Still
fun.
here.
That was fun to do. I enjoyed the ejection of Michael and Anna. I ran him. All right, Jim, but Shauna clears. What are their chances?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much they have to. I think there's two things. They need to win this series in Tallahassee, which, as you guys were saying, is a tall order. But if they can do that, the other next step is they probably got to win the Big South regular season title, or at least split it. And they lost that head-to-head series with Radford, which is a problem. But if they can nudge out Radford and at least get a share or win the Big South outright, then and win this series in Tallahassee, you figure their RPI will probably be high enough. And they've obviously got a brand new, shiny new ballpark to show off that I'm sure the NCAA would probably love to get on ESPN and all that. And so they would. And kind of like we've also, there's not a lot of hosting candidates around here with South Carolina down, Clemson down. North Carolina is kind of a borderline host. Virginia is not going to be a host, so it's the door is open for a team like Coastal to get in there and see if they can snag a hosting bid.
I think you're exactly right. Coastal and North Carolina are two teams that right now I don't think deserve to host a regional. I feel like if one of those teams makes some kind of statement down the stretch, I see one of them hosting, Jim, and just for the reason that you said. And Maryland would be another team in that mix, that in that Mid-Atlantic region that I have to think is in that hosting mix. But you have Florida Atlantic projected to go to Chapel Hill, Jim. That would be not to come to Chapel Hill. For North Carolina to go to Florida Atlantic, it would be a little revenge on the mind of the Owls. Guys like Brandon Sanger and Ricky Santiago, a couple of holdovers from that 2013 Owls team. That would be fun. I think some people some people in Boca would enjoy seeing the Owls get their chance at revenge. I'm gonna let you go. You're headed down to Charlotte. Love that ballpark down there. They do a nice job. The 49ers do. It's a great on-campus ballpark. Yeah, it's a great on-campus ballpark. And then we know Andrew Kiddick will roll out the garnet carpet for us down in whenever we come to Columbia. There's some great SIDs out there who do a great job, and we can throw them a freaking bone here every once in a while. But Jim, enjoy the weekend, and I will see you back here Monday. We'll see Mike back here Monday for a Baseball America podcast. Until then, thanks for joining us on this Hangout. We'll see you next time. So long, everybody.